All right, good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Mayor and Council. This is the regular session. We had the work session earlier today. I'll call this meeting to order. In just a minute, I'm going to recognize Pastor Alan Tripp from the Gospel Life Church for the invocation, and then followed by Sergeant Drew Fowler, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And after that, if you gentlemen will remain, I want to say a few words about you, and then we'll go. So if everybody will please rise. Mr. Tripp, come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I love this city, don't y'all? All right. Join me as I say a blessing on this evening. God, we just thank you so much. Come to you, and I ask specifically for the mayor, the councilmen, councilwomen, and everyone who serves this city. I pray for wisdom for the decisions that they make. I pray, God, that you would give them protection in the duties that they perform. And God, I ask that you would give prosperity to our community and help us all to keep in mind that we are simply stewards of what you entrust us with. So God, I pray specifically for this meeting. I pray for wisdom for the council to make good, wise stewardship decisions. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Drew, if you'll come up to the mic there and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. You all may be seated. So tonight we were honored to have with us Pastor Alan Tripp from the Gospel Life Church. Pastor Tripp is the bivocational pastor for Gospel Life Church and works in software development. Those two don't seem to go together. His wife, Missy, is a teacher for Carroll County Schools, which is a tough job, especially right now. And they have 4 adult children and 1 grandchild. Congratulations. He and Missy moved to Villa Rica in 1990 and began their family. In 2005, they moved to Dallas, Texas for 3 years to study for the ministry. After returning to Villa Rica, they planted a church in 2009 called Discovery Church, which was renamed Gospel Life Church last year. In 2020, his family started a new candle-making business called Tripp House that provides financial resources for children in need. That's wonderful. Thank you, sir, and thank you for being here tonight. And now we have Sergeant Drew Fowler, who led us in the pledge tonight, and he has the distinction of being the first officer to pull me over here since I've been an adult. And since I was the mayor for, I don't even remember what it was, but I think there was some new thing had just come out, and I got my first warning from him. Since then, somebody else has got me, so I'll get them soon. All right. Drew began proudly serving the citizens of Villa Rica in April 2012 as a night shift patrol officer after serving in the United States Marine Corps as an infantryman. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. In February 2015, Drew became the K-9 handler for the Villa Rica Police Department, partnered with K-9 Bono. Drew was promoted to the rank of sergeant in October of 2019. Drew is currently assigned to C shift, night shift, as the supervisor. Drew grew up in the West Georgia area and has made the city of Villa Rica his home for the last 6 years, along with his wife and 2 children. He appreciates having the opportunity to make a tangible difference in Villa Rica, and you do, sir. Thank you for being here tonight. Okay, that will move us on to the adoption of the agenda. And does anyone want to make any?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, go.
I would like to table Community Development Item 4, ordinance to revise Section 400 of the City of Villa Rica's Development Regulations.
Okay, are there any objections to tabling that item? Okay, so we will amend that agenda for that. Are there any other amendments?
I'll make a motion to adopt the amended
No,
agenda.
not yet, sir. All right, if nobody else has any, I would like to table the G1 resolution of support for changes to state highway system and acceptance of 2 roadways. Is there any objection to that amendment? Okay, we will table both of those items. That will amend the agenda. Is there a third change to this agenda? It seemed like let me go back to my work session agenda. Okay, if nobody remembers any other changes, then,
I move we adopt the amended agenda.
Second.
all right, I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended and a second. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. All right. Tonight, we have the honor of recognizing our commissioner for District 4, Clint Chance, and he has brought with him, I think she is the public relations person for Carroll County, is that correct? Ashley Hulsey. So Clint is here tonight to talk to us about the upcoming SPLOST, which will be on the ballot next Tuesday, is that right? And early voting has already begun. So tell us all about it, Clint.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, for having us this evening. And thank you also for recognizing our communications director, Ms. Ashley Hulsey.
Okay.
She actually put together the PowerPoint presentation, has done a phenomenal job in assisting me with some town halls and also going around kind of on a circuit tour, if you will. A couple of bookkeeping points, so to speak. We're going to be speaking this evening on the Carroll County portion of the SPLOST. It should be understood that the city of Villa Rica, if this does pass, will have its own funding and portion of the estimated $119 million. In addition to that, obviously, we do some projects that are in partnership together, but even as city residents, you pay county taxes. There's also certain services. Even though you have a police department and a municipal court, there are certain things at a certain level that you would need county services that are not provided in the city. So we feel it's really important to kind of go over that information with you. So we've got a condensed version here that we're going to try to move through very quickly. I did hold 2 town halls in my district. One was in Fairfield Plantation a few weeks ago, and also at the Villa Rica Public Library. Those lasted a little over an hour. We're going to move through this one obviously in 10 or 12 minutes, hopefully very quickly. So if anyone has any questions or wants to hear more details, I would invite you to go back and look at those Facebook Live feeds that are on Clint Chance - Carroll County Commissioner, or obviously you can reach out to me through email. Those of you that are listening at home, cchance@carrollcountyga.com. So without any further ado, I'll ask our communications director to start, and I'll end the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us. I have done this PowerPoint so many times that I could probably do it in my sleep, so I won't bore you with all the details. I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with Splosh and what it supports, but we'll go through our little portion here. It is your pennies at work. Splosh is just a 1% special purpose local option sales tax that we fund throughout Carroll County and our municipalities. Your Splosh Pennies at Work is basically just a Splosh program that has become a popular way for government to fund capital outlay projects without raising property taxes, which is always a plus. Carroll County has used the Splosh program for many years to fund capital projects without using the property tax and things that we couldn't do with property tax, which is a big deal. We've got a couple of pictures here. That top road is actually McCurdy Road. That is one of the roads that we worked alongside the city of Villa Rica to pave. Of course, we purchase equipment, and public safety is always a huge priority for us at the county. The penny sales tax is paid by everyone who shops here, so it's approximately about 30%. I would say that it's probably a little more than that. So everyone that comes into the county, whether they're here eating in the lovely city of Villa Rica, or whether they're shopping at Walmart, or just partaking in all the amenities that we have here to offer in Carroll County, those folks are spending money here, so they're leaving their pennies behind. And that adds up to about 30%, like I said. So I have a bunch of car tags here because we do attract people not only just from our neighboring counties, but we have a lot of people that live in Alabama that work here as well. And then we also have the University of West Georgia that brings people really from all over the world that come here. So those people are leaving their pennies behind. Current Splosh projects, this will expire this month if it is not continued, and it is not a new tax. It is a continuation of a tax that we've actually had since 1987. Some of the things that we've done here at the county is everybody familiar where our ag center is located. How many of you have been to the soup tasting that the sheriff usually hosts every year? That is a huge deal for us, and we hate because of COVID we've not been able to do it these past 2 seasons. But there at the ag center, we've been able to put in a new roof, do some pavilions. We've updated the handicap access, ADA accessible and repainting and striping the parking lot. And the thing about that is, that's not glamorous projects, but the Ag Center is the most utilized center that we have within Carroll County, and it also brings people, especially from all over the southeast, when we have, believe it or not, goat shows, cattle shows, and different things like that, and they are a huge educational resource for our youth as well. Carroll County Parks, we have 4 beautiful parks within Carroll County, and they all have wonderful amenities. We learned through COVID fairly quickly that when we were able to safely open our parks back up, we had a major influx in people that were coming because they had cabin fever due to COVID. So we were able to use some CARES Act money to upgrade a lot of our stuff at our parks so that we can accommodate more visitors. But we are looking to do more upgrades so that we can be bigger and better. Our recreation department, as you guys have one here, we know keeping our youth busy is just good for our community all the way around. We're very proud of our premier gymnastics facility that we have that serves as a multi-purpose facility. Pickleball is a big thing now, so we do have a pickleball court in there as well. And we're looking to do some upgrades at the rec department with this continuation of Splash. Carroll County E911, our 911 operators are really the heartbeat behind public safety. They're the ones that you call. They're the ones that you speak to when you call 911. So we were able to do a big addition there, 10,600 square feet. And we were able to do a new operations center there. I know several of you in the room have probably visited our emergency operations center. I know Chief Mansewer's been there on multiple occasions, probably there this morning for a meeting. So what that basically serves, and you see in this picture, is when we have a major disaster, and this was pre-COVID when we knew we all couldn't be in the same room together. We have severe weather. We're able to come together and we're able to communicate in real time. So if we're there and we have a representative from Villa Rica Police Department, we have Georgia Power, Carroll EMC, Water Authority, we're able to communicate and get things back to normal quicker for you, the citizens. So this benefits everyone, not just Carroll County residents. We have people from all municipalities that come into this emergency operations. So it does help us get help to you quicker. It doesn't inundate our 911 dispatchers, and we're able to return to normal a lot sooner. Carroll County Sheriff's Office, obviously public safety is near and dear to my heart. Just a side note, I actually started as a police officer here at the city of Villa Rica. Chief Mansewer was kind enough to hire me and give me a chance, and so that was kind of where I got my start, so I'm a little partial to you all here. But we're able to purchase fully equipped vehicles, as I'm sure you are here in Villa Rica as well, and you'll notice that we do have a Tahoe on there. I know that a lot of the municipalities are going to the bigger vehicles, and we are asked by the community sometimes, why do you spend that extra money to get those big vehicles? Well, it really is a safety issue for our officers, because I would think that you would want us to arrive safely, and you would want us to drive things that weren't going to break down at an inopportune time, especially if you're in the state of emergency. But I know last summer we were working a wreck on the interstate. We were actually waiting on GSP to arrive, and we had a deputy in one of these Tahoes. They were hit by an 18-wheeler. They were able to walk away, a little scraped and bruised, but had they been in that Caprice, I can't say that the outcome would be the same. So that is why we do spend a little extra money to buy those bigger vehicles. Again, Public Works, they're the unsung heroes of Carroll County. That's, again, the picture of McCurdy Road. We do work in concert with a lot of our municipalities so that we can pave and resurface roads. Just since July 2019 through November 2020, the county has paved 18.94 miles of roads at a cost of $1.8 million using Splash funds. So it's very expensive to pave roads. I know that Commissioner Chance will go into that a little bit more in detail. This slide here just shows you all the municipalities that we partner with, even including Bremen, Villa Rica, Bowden, Rooteville, Mountain Zion, Carrollton, Temple, and Whitesburg. We receive about 62% of that funding. It's around $74 million, and then our municipalities share the difference. Some of our planned projects is paved roads, culvert pipe replacements, and equipment replacement at our Public Works Department. And then I'm going to briefly talk about this and turn it over to Commissioner Chance. But all of you are familiar with Station 9 here in Villa Rica that serves the citizens here in the north end of the county. This is the oldest fire station that we have. It was built in 1981. It is very functionally obsolescent, and I know that our firefighters would appreciate having somewhere new to go and call home. It is the busiest station in the county to be one of the smallest ones that we have. In 2020 alone, they answered almost 2,000 emergency calls in the north end of the county and within the city of Villa Rica. And like I said, it's not functional to meet the growing needs of your city and the north end of our county. So right now, the county owns the location where the GSP post 4 used to be located. We actually had that demolished back in October, and we're looking to relocate that station over to that location if Splosh continues. And this is just not an exact rendering of what we'll do, but just kind of an idea. We're looking at maybe a 3 to 4 bay. That would be able to not only add more equipment so that we could answer calls more effectively, but we may be able to do some QRVs as well, which is quick response vehicles. Those are basically just maybe an F-150, a truck of some sort that still has emergency equipment on it, so that when we're running down to the interstate, which is quite frequently, we're not driving our $1 million fire trucks down there that could risk the chance of being wrecked, and it costs a lot to replace those, and it takes a lot longer. So if we had those QRVs, that would be better. And it could serve as a multi-purpose facility. We might have, we've talked about maybe some tag office or somewhere where the people up in the north end of the county don't necessarily always have to drive to the city of Carrollton to meet their needs on a government level. So at that point, I appreciate you listening to me, and I'm going to turn this over to Commissioner Chance.
Thank you, Ms. Holsey. As she stated, this is probably the largest capital outlay project that the county has currently got on the books, if this passes on March the 16th. So I would like to thank the Carroll County Board of Commissioners, the chair and all the district commissioners, and also Fire Chief Tim Padgett, who brought this to us, and this is something that's heavily needed. This is an example, as I was talking earlier, of a county-owned piece of property, county-ran operation that's actually located in the city and primarily serves, primarily serves the residents here in the city. Really looking forward, if it passes, probably to having some community input meetings, as Ms. Holsey stated, upstairs. If we can have a 2-story facility, maybe having a conference room or something, that's always something that we're needing in the city, whether it's law enforcement or different venues. We're constantly needing meeting space, so we hope that's something that will be able to be brought to fruition. I wanted to go through some numbers really quickly. A lot of times you hear, the estimated 119 million, or you hear 74 million, and so people think, well, the Board of Commissioners are, probably going to fly out to Hawaii and with that kind of money, and the slush fund, as it's called. But I want to go over some numbers just to roll through your head so people can understand how expensive things really are. So in a 6-year period, we're looking at spending about $4 million on gravel, culvert pipes, $750,000. Dust control, we have a lot of dirt roads that remain. Some of those we want to pave, but also we have a lot of residents that like the rural lifestyle, that they enjoy. This is a part of the upkeep. So dust control at $1 million. Herbicide spray around $400,000. It costs approximately $140,000 per mile to actually build out a new road. Resurfacing, where it's already paved and you're just coming and laying a surface or a topping over it, you're looking at about $90,000 per mile, and this is actually only from material cost. As you all know, we have a state prison that operates in Carroll County that we depend on a lot of inmate labor there. So these costs would be astronomically larger if we had to include labor in these as well. Thermoplastic, about $10,000 per mile. So the old traditional way was just a regular spray paint. We're trying to do, especially on the northern end of the county where the roads are a lot heavily traveled, the thermoplastic, which is put down with a heat process. This is the same quality that you see on large interstates on I-20. So we're having to spend more money, but hopefully the longevity will pay off in the end. To replace a bridge, is estimated from state reports that we get periodically that approximately 10% of bridges in the entire state of Georgia would fail if they were inspected, which is a little bit scary. But to replace one bridge is approximately $2 million. So that's just to give you an idea. Moving on, a couple of our largest departments, fire and public works. A fully equipped engine is about $600,000. A ladder truck fully equipped, you're looking at about $1 million. A tanker fully equipped, $500,000. Paving equipment bundle, this consists of the roller, asphalt spreader, and tar wagon that's required on every single paving job. You're looking at about $500,000. Heavy equipment trailer that we are desperate in need of. This is one that actually has a hydraulic system and is required to haul these large pieces of equipment. It's about $100,000. A dump truck, we've got dozen or more in our fleet, that those have to be replaced periodically. Those are about $200,000 a piece. A street sweeper, $50,000, and a fuel truck that we have to have constantly running is about $300,000. So I'm putting this up here. These are obviously not the only things that we would look to expend upon, but it gives you an idea when you start seeing $100,000, $500,000, $750,000 on these pieces of equipment. It's very easy to see how the county's portion of that $74 million could get gone really quick. These are department breakdowns. I'll just go through these really quickly. Again, 119 is projected countywide. We actually did the projections with our CFO and different administrative heads, where we're budgeting at basically at a trending, at a flat level, where we're not including any growth in that because of COVID. We didn't know what to expect. So those numbers could be higher, and we hope that they are. $74 million, or 62%, is the county's portion. The city of Villa Rica, if it passes, is $9 million, or 7.5% would be your percentage. Roads, streets, bridges, sidewalks, and our public works, $21 million. Public safety, approximately $22 million. Administrative facilities and equipment is approximately $19 million. Recreation parks and equipment, a little less than $4 million. Judicial facilities and equipment, $5 million. That's another project that I am working on behalf of the Board of Commissioners with a couple of my fellow district commissioners. We have a 5th floor at the Judicial Center where you would go to state or superior court or juvenile court. So we're looking to try to actually build that floor out. We've got some services that are spread throughout the county, such as magistrate court. So we're trying to look at a possibility of bringing all that under one roof, and the facility was built for that very intended purpose at some point when we needed to consolidate or try to bring, as the county continued to grow, everything under one roof. So that's what that particular fee that you're seeing there in estimation. Community impact and economic development, a little over $1 million. Agricultural, farmland, and watershed protection. Carroll County is still predominantly ag center. We have a lot of farmlands, people that make a living off of farms, so that's important as well. I wanted to end by going through this because I think it's extremely important. While this deals with your property tax and it's not actually dealing with SPLOST, I think the two tie in together. Most people have probably heard of the homestead exemption wherever your primary residence is, but most residents do not understand that Carroll County has a floating homestead exemption. And so now Superior Court judge, who was actually a legislature, Bill Hambrick, back in the day before he was appointed as a judge, was our state legislature. And this passed, it was introduced in 2001, it passed in 2002, and went into effect in 2003. And I want to preface it before I continue. This is only applicable if you live in the city. If you're under the age of 65, you probably have city tax, you have county tax, and then you have a school board tax. This is only applicable to the county portion because that's what the state law dictates. This is not relevant to the city portion or the school board portion. So let's say, for example purposes only, that you purchased a home in 2005 and you applied for the floating homestead exemption, and let's say the fair market value of that home was $100,000. In 2020, without any modifications to the home, you didn't build a pool, you didn't build on to the home, you didn't build a garage, you didn't do any major improvements. Let's say that from an inflationary standpoint only, that increased about $80,000. So really the fair market value that's on your tax bill may read $180,000. For the county portion only, I want to preface it that you're only paying taxes on that base of $100,000. So that entire inflationary amount goes away for what you pay. And obviously the base amount is then times the 40%, which is a state law, and then times the applicable millage rate. But that $100,000 is the base. Now, and continuing this, let's say in 2005, the same home, you bought it, fair market value when you applied for the floating homestead exemption was $100,000. And let's say in 2020, here again, inflationary period, the market's up good. Let's say that value went up to $80,000. Now let's say this year you added a pool and the full amount of that improvement was worth $20,000. So the fair market value is going to read $200,000 on your tax bill. The original $100,000, the $80,000 of the inflation in the market, and then the $20,000, the full amount of the complement or the improvement on the property. So, But the reality is you're only going to pay taxes on 120. So you're going to take the original 100 and then you're going to add the full improvement amount, which is $20,000. So you're only going to pay that on that base of 120,000, not the 200,000. So then the 120 is times the 40% and then times the millage rate. So the point in bringing this up is to, I hope people will recognize that there is such a great value in the SPLOST and how it complements or supplements the general fund at the county level. Taxpayers in the county save hundreds of thousands, if not close to. At one point, when I calculated this about a year ago, it was bumping near $1 million of revenue that does not come into the county that's saving the taxpayers. So I think it gives a little more emphasis, if you will, just how important the SPLOST is. Obviously, March the 16th, we talked about that. It is next Tuesday. Early voting is ongoing currently this week from Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can vote locally here at Powell Park. You can also continue to vote at the main elections office, which is the bottom of the tag office in Carrollton from 8 to 5. There'll be no voting on Monday, and then the actual precinct-specific will be on Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Pennies for progress and improvement. Also want to kind of conclude by saying this is an educational purposes only. While there's a lot of good things here that we would like to do with the money, if it passes, that is up to the constituents of this community. We are not here in any shape, form, or fashion to tell people how to vote or to vote for it or vote against it. We're simply here to educate the public. And I tried to do that as quickly as I could, Mr. Mayor. I probably took maybe a little more time than you wanted. But here again, please go online, contact me if you'd like to know more details. I've spoken with many residents to give them more specifics that they may want to know about the community. Do you have any questions or anything I can answer?
I don't. Council, does anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, Clint, I appreciate you coming tonight. And in addition to the town halls that you've done, and that are available for replay. We also, all the mayors of the county, for the Carroll County side, and the commission chair did meet last night and do a live town hall as well. There are a lot of projects that Villa Rica could benefit from here, but again, we're not here to tell you how to vote. We hope that you make a good decision when you go in. But I want to thank you for your time, and Miss Ashley, thank you too.
Thank
You're
you
the
so much.
communications director. We all like our titles. All right. Thank you very much. All right. We will move on now to the public comment portion of this meeting, and I don't have a sign-up sheet. So, are there anyone who's signed up? Okay. Well, while they're going to get me that, I want to say a special thank you to Dr. Mims in the audience. I know all of you get, well, maybe not all of you, but a lot of you probably get the weekly newsletter, and most weeks I put a quote in there from Winston Churchill because that's somebody that I've studied through history and admired. And Dr. Mims is actually a distant relative of Winston Churchill, and tonight when I came in, she had left this laying up here for me. So I want to thank you for that, Dr. Mims. I appreciate that. It's a quote that I haven't used yet, but I was familiar with, and it says, "Never, never, never quit." I think everybody can live by that. So thank you, Dr. Mims. All right, I have one. It's Dr. Mims. I have one person who signed up for public comment. Dr. Mims, if you'll come up, give us your name and address for the record, and we'll give you 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Usually I don't complain about something, but I'm here tonight to actually make somewhat of a complaint. I and my neighbors know that Pilot owns the truck stop in that area, and we know that it's in Douglas County, but the city of Villa Rica. It is almost impossible with all of the cars that are coming from Liberty Road over there to go to Punkintown or to Mirror Lake. It is even harder at night. Now, I also realize that there is eventually supposed to be a roundabout, which will help. And I know that Liberty Road is not a city road, that it is a county road. So we have a lot of problems that are combined with all of this. But I and my neighbors are asking for somebody to please talk to Pilot and ask them if they can move those trucks. I know that somebody did before, but those trucks are pulled in right off of Edge Road, and you cannot see to your right, and there is not enough light. When it's dark at night or early in the morning, there is not enough visual area for us to see if anything is coming over there. And I am sure that it is going to be an accident eventually. But those tractor trailers, and the cabin part of it, if they can put it on the other side, Pilot owns that area as well, they need to have them move. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Mims. And that is an issue that is being worked on, just as an FYI. Okay, I don't have anybody else who has signed up for public comment. Is there anybody here who would like to give public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public comments portion of the meeting, and we will move into council updates. Are there any council members who would like to speak at this time? Ms. McPherson.
I'm going to talk to Dr. Mims. Yeah, we actually have ordered some no commercial parking signs that's going to be put where the hill is. They have arrived, and we just have to install them to get those vehicles to stop parking on that hill.
All right, Ms. McPherson.
Yeah, I was just going to mention real quick, if you don't understand that floating homestead exemption, most people don't even know it exists. I started analyzing the taxes at one time and ended up down in that office with the tax appraiser's office and started to understand the way all that worked. And it is, in some ways, it hamstrings the county financially. So that's where the SPLOS can come into play. Actually, I have a thank you, and that's just, it's kind of to the city staff, and whoever came up with the ideas of maybe doing some of these pop-up concerts and that sort of thing. So many things have been canceled this year, and people are tired of being home, and being outside is a great place to be when the weather's good. I know it's a little chilly. So, but we did, and I bragged once before, I'm going to say it again, we did our Gold Rush Festival. We did our little Christmas parade and our tree lighting, and it all went well, and it was safe. And I missed the concert. I heard it. The music was wonderful. And then there's another one this Friday. So that's just nice. It's quick. Let's get the word out and get a better turnout. Get the word out that there's, fun and music downtown, for an hour, at least on Friday night. Maybe they'll eat dinner while they're here. That's all.
All right, thank you. Any other council members? All right, seeing none, I will move on in the agenda. Earlier today at 3 o'clock, the council met in a work session to discuss a host of items in particular detail. And from that, we created a consent agenda, which essentially means that there were no objections to passing these items. I will read off the items that we agreed on earlier today, and if there are any objections, please hold those until the very end. So item 1, residential subdivision design guidelines information only. Stockmar Road drainage at 2004 Hubbard Court engineering design recommendation. EPD mandated long-term water quality monitoring. Purchase 2021 Ford F-250 service truck for building and fleet maintenance, or fleet department. Purchase 2021 Ford F-250 crew cab for building inspection department. Mobile covered stage for the July 3rd fireworks. Fireworks vendor for the July 3rd fireworks. Renewal of workers' compensation insurance for 2021-2022. Approval of bank signature cards. Fiscal year 2021 budget amendments, numbers 73 through 94. Approve installation of street lights on ramp from Highway 78 up to Liberty Road. Adoption of resolution approving the issuance of tax-exempt revenue bonds. Approval of agreement with the PHIA group cover. All right, do I have a motion to adopt that consent agenda?
Move to adopt the consent agenda.
I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda and a second. Are there any discussion? If not, all in favor? That is unanimous. Okay, moving on to tab B, the approval of the minutes. The council meetings of February the 9th, 2021. Are there any amendments? If there are no amendments, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the minutes of the February 9th city council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the council meeting minutes of February the 9th, 2021, and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous.
Since I wasn't
I thought I saw your hand go up. So, just an abstention? Okay. Madam Clerk, you got that? All right, let's move on to tab C, Community Development. Mr. Elliott. Item C1, ABL-055-21, alcohol beverage permit for Ambrosia Group, Inc., doing business as day-night food store at 764 West Bankhead Highway.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this application is to allow the applicant to sell packaged malt beverages and wine, 764 West Bankhead. That's the Sunoco station next door to Jefferson's, I believe. The applicant is compliant with the ordinance with regard to legal notification requirements and has successfully passed the background check conducted by the Villa Rica Police Department. This application is for a change in ownership for the business, and there exists a current alcoholic permit for the prior owner. Also, there are no location zoning restrictions that would hinder the issuance of the permit. Staff recommends approval. And the applicant is here.
Okay. Are there any questions for Bobby before I open a public hearing? All right, seeing no questions, at this time, I will open up a public hearing. Is there anyone here who would wish to speak for or against this item? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And I will revert back to staff and council. Council, do you have any questions for Bobby or for the applicant?
Is he going to be read his rights?
We're going to bring him up. All right, would the applicant please come forward? Sir, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Milan Patel, and address is 913 Center Bay Drive, Villa Rica, Georgia, 30180.
All right, thank you. Mr. Macklin.
Good evening, Mr. Patel.
Good evening, sir.
You understand that you're required to comply with certain laws with regard to the sale of alcohol here in the city?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to train all of your employees to comply with those laws?
100% with my best knowledge.
And you understand that the Villa Rica Police Department is going to conduct, at some point in time, an operation to try and catch you violating those laws?
I sure hope, and I hope they do it, for sure.
Okay.
It'll make me in a line to go further and further, with the compliance.
All right. Well, we're going to appreciate you complying with the law, and just know that there are going to be people looking over your shoulder to make sure you do.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Council, does anybody have any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir. You may
Thank
have a
you.
seat. Okay, I'll revert back to council. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the alcohol beverage permit application for Ambrosia Group Incorporated, doing business as day-night food store at 764 West Bankhead Highway, Villa Rica, Georgia, 30180.
Second.
All right, I have a motion to approve the alcohol beverage permit application for Ambrosia Group, Inc., doing business as day-night food store at 764 West Bankhead Highway, Villa Rica. And I have a second for Mr. Carter. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? That motion will pass. All right, we'll move on to C2, ABL-04-21, alcohol beverage permit for AZF Anacon LLC, doing business as Carroll Road Shopette Alcohol Beverage. Bobby, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is also a change of ownership. The applicant has applied to sell retail packaged malt beverages and wine at 205 South Carroll Road, Villa Rica, Georgia, 30180. Here again, the applicant has complied with all the ordinances and with regard to legal notification requirements and successfully passed the background check. And there are no location zoning restrictions that would hinder the issuance of the ordinance. Staff recommends approval.
All right. Council, do you have any questions for Bobby before I open a public hearing? All right, hearing no questions from council, I will open up for a public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for or against this permit? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I'll revert back to council and staff. Do you have any questions for Bobby now? All right, would the applicant please come forward? Sir, would you please state your name and address for the record?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Hasibur Rahman, and I'm from 205 South Carroll Road, doing business as Carroll Road Shop It.
Would you say your last name or spell it for me?
Rahman.
Rahman. All right. Mr. Mecklin.
Yes, sir. Mr. Rahman, are you going to be the manager of the store there?
I will be the manager, yes, sir.
All right, and you heard my questions to the last gentleman. You understand what the laws are with regard to sale of alcohol to minors?
Yes, sir, I do.
And you're going to make sure that you train all your employees to make sure that they do not do that?
I will do that, absolutely.
All right, and you also understand that the Villa Rica Police Department will be checking that periodically to make sure that there are no sales to minors?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
You appreciate it as well.
Yes, sir.
I think we got something
Thank you.
interesting going on tonight. Chief, you got work to do. Make these folks happy. All right, any questions for this applicant? All right, if none, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
for being here. We'll revert back to staff and council. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the alcohol beverage permit application for AZF Anacon LLC, Carroll Road Shopette at 205 South Carroll Road, Villa Rica, Georgia, 30180.
Second.
We're moving too fast. It's not there, is it? So I'm not going to read that one all out. All right, I have a motion to approve this alcohol beverage permit, and I have a second from Mr. Young. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor? All opposed? She don't like y'all.
Don't listen to him.
I'm just okay. All right. I walked into that. Sorry. I do that to pick on her a little bit. She votes no on all these alcohol things, so I'm sorry for that. I got to do better. All right, let's move on.
That was a bottle of perfume.
Let's move on to C3 ABL-06-21 alcohol beverage permit for 9600 Quick Mart Road LLC, located at 9600 Connors Road. Mr. Elliott.
Mr. Mayor, this application is also, I believe, a change of ownership. The applicant is made application to sell packaged malt beverages and wine at 9600 Connors Road, Suite B, Villa Rica, Georgia. I believe it's next door to the Marco's Pizza in that little strip center there at Mirror Lake Shopping Center that faces Connors Road.
So, change of ownership, did you say that?
I believe so,
All right,
yes.
go ahead.
Mm-hmm. The applicant has complied with the ordinance with regard to legal notification requirements and has successfully passed a background check conducted by the Villa Rica Police Department, and there are no location zoning restrictions that would hinder the issuance of the license. Staff recommends approval.
And the applicant is here?
Yes.
All right, council, do you have any questions for Bobby? All right, if there are no questions, I'm going to open this up for a public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak for or against this alcohol beverage permit? None. Okay, I will close the public hearing, and I will revert back to staff and council. Would the applicant please come forward? Hello, sir. Would you state your name and address for the record?
Good evening. My name is Amin Damani. My address is 40 Peachtree Valley, Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm the manager at that store.
You're the manager at that store?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you spell your last name for me?
Dhamani.
N-I.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Macklin?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
You are the general manager there?
Yes, sir. I'm there for last 4 years, and they are just changing the ownership, so I'm still going to be there.
Okay. Well, so you are familiar then with the rules and regulations
Yes,
here
sir.
in the city of Villa Rica?
Yes, sir.
And you're
Completely.
going to instruct your employees to comply with them?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that the City of Villa Rica Police Department will be looking very vigorously to make sure that no sales are going on to minors?
Of course, sir.
All right. Thank you.
And is that, in fact, next to the Marcos?
Yes, sir.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Counsel, do you have any questions for this applicant? All right. Thank you, sir. You may be seated. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the alcohol beverage permit application for 9600 Quick Mart LLC at 9600 Connors Road, Suite B, Villa Rica, Georgia, 30180.
Second.
All right, I have a motion to approve the alcohol beverage permit application for 9600 Quick Mart LLC at 9600 Connors Road, Suite B, Villa Rica, Georgia 30180. And I have a second from Mr. Carter. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? No jokes. All right, thank you, folks. Thank you for being here. All right, we will now move on to tab D, Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Services. This item comes back. It's item D1, Sound and Lighting for the July 3rd fireworks show. Comes back due to an addendum being added back into the package. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Ivy? All right, if there are no questions, I will entertain a motion.
Bring it up.
We got a couple seconds. Do you want to talk?
I move to approve
Thank
Pop
you.
Audio.
Thank you.
I move to approve Pop Audio as the vendor to provide sound and lighting services for the July 3rd concert during the city's annual fireworks show event.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous. Tracy probably wouldn't have come back if she'd known I was going to do it like that. I'll warn you next time if I can. All right, Ms. Chumley, you're up next. E1, 2021 Community Development Grant disbursement for the Villa Rica Golden City Lions Club. This item comes back to us due to abstentions that didn't allow it to be on the consent agenda. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Chumley? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Villa Rica Golden City Lions Club application for the 2021 Villa Rica Community Development Grant in the amount of $6,970 for the 2021 Taste of Villa Rica.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the Villa Rica Golden City Lions Club application for the 2021 Villa Rica Community Development Grant in the amount of $6,970 for the 2021 Taste of Villa Rica. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? All abstain? Abstain wins. It's approved.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor, you want to explain that?
That was interesting. We have, out of the 5 council members here, 3 of them are members of the Villa Rica Lions Club. And then I found out I took advice from the city attorney earlier tonight, who's also a member of the Lions Club, and this has been, can you do something different next time? All right. Let's move on to tab F, Finance. Ms. Sarah Andrews, who... Okay, well, I can't say that because it actually hadn't officially happened yet, but let's get a financial update while you're still doing that job. Go ahead.
Okay, this is a financial update through January. Cash for the city. So we're comparing this point of January 31st of 2021 to January 31st, 2020. Total cash and CD for the city, that top line, has jumped from 19 million to 22.5 million. The next 3 items are our major funds: general fund, water sewer fund, and sanitation solid waste. We pay for things out of one bank account, but the system tracks what is owed to each fund. So you can see general fund has grown almost 2 million in a year. Water and sewer fund has grown just slightly, and sanitation solid waste is at $25,000. 2008 SPLOST, we finally finished spending that. And we do have 2 million sitting in both of our 15 and 16 Carroll and Douglas SPLOST. So we will be finishing the paving hopefully soon and get a lot of that paid out. Next is, if I can get this to work. Can you hit the next slide, please? Nope. Okay, I like to update y'all on our building permits. These are the residential building permits, and they're year to date. So this looks at October through January of each of these fiscal years I'm showing you. So for last year, at the end of January, we had brought in 104 building permits for an amount of $208,000. This year, we're at 50 residential permits for an amount of $178,000. So as I said at the last meeting, it is fewer permits, but they They are at a higher cost. So water taps looks a lot lower this year. When you don't see a water tap associated with the building permit, it could be because it's in the Douglas County portion, who are actually customers of Douglas County. So we service the sewer there, but not water in certain areas of the city. There goes. Okay, this is the update on our sales tax. So this shows just 1 month. So this is January of 2020 to January of 2021, the amount of sales tax that we brought in for each county. Now, a few months ago, we received a report from the state there had been an error, and we received basically a refund for to make up for lost time on a particular. I don't know the details of it, but we received the correction of an error. But since then, we have seen significant growth on our sales tax. So from Carroll, in just 1 year, because of the corrected error, we see a 15% jump from January to January, and for Douglas County, it was 9%. Property tax, just wanted to bring y'all up to date. So the first column shows you what we budgeted for each of the counties, $2.6 million for Carroll and $1.6 million for Douglas. And as of January 31st, that's how much we had collected. For Carroll, it was 89%, and Douglas, it was actually 96%. And as of the end of February, Carroll County was up to 93%, and Douglas was up to 97%. This is our water and sewer net income statement, for lack of a better term. You can see net income is about where it was last year. I like to look at kind of the total lines there. Total revenue has grown from 3.1 million to almost 2 million. And this is year-to-date numbers. So this is October through January of each of these 2 years I'm showing you. The next section showing you our expenses by department. The first one, utility administrator, has grown quite a bit since last year. So we did add our deputy utility administrator, deputy of utility administration. So that has grown that department, but also we're just doing more engineering and more things as we have more projects. So that's included there. And debt has gone up and depreciation has gone up as well. But overall, the net income is similar. Okay, Sanitation Fund. So at this point last year, again, this is October through January of these 2 years I'm showing you. Last year we were sitting at a net income of $2,000. And now this year we're sitting at a net income of $9,000. Excuse me. As I discussed last meeting, I did find that depreciation had not been raised enough. I have raised it some, but I'll probably be bringing y'all a budget amendment to make sure that we account for that appropriately. And self-funded insurance. So that green box shows you where the bank balance sits since we have. So that is as of the end of January. And that's just, the effect of the last 3 years. So we have $823,000 sitting in the bank. Now that is a $50,000 decrease from where it was, because remember, council approved a Christmas bonus for end of year pay, I guess we want to call it, out of these savings. So when we see a big drop, that's what that was from. The orange box shows us how much we have contributed to the plan this year. So every payroll, we move money from our pooled cash account into this separate bank account. We've moved $540,000 this year. The blue is the actual expenses. So on the self-funded plan, we don't write a big check to the insurance company every month. We pay the expenses as they actually happen. So just in this fiscal year, we have a difference between what we've contributed and what we've paid out of $100,000 as of January. Any questions?
Council, do you have any questions? All right, if there are no questions, I would note that the council receives these updates really throughout the weeks as we get to these meetings, and probably have already addressed some questions. So thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the city manager. And we have tabled that first item, so let's go to G2, appointment of deputy city manager / CFO. Go ahead, Tom.
I'm recommending that we fill the newly created position with Sarah Andrews, our finance director, CFO, and I fully expect that she is going to make a huge positive difference in our organization.
So if you want to hear him talk a lot about that, you can go back and listen to the work session, because he talked a little bit more about it. And we did not put that on the consent agenda because we wanted to address it here individually, that and the next item as well. So, council, you're familiar with this. Does anybody have any questions first? Is there any questions anybody like to have? All right. If there are no questions, I think this is an excellent choice, and I will entertain a motion.
I move to appoint Sarah Andrews as Deputy City Manager / CFO.
All right, I have a motion to appoint Sarah Andrews as Deputy City Manager
Effective immediately, I'm sorry.
/CFO, effective immediately?
Yep.
Okay, you don't have, all right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous. Congratulations, Sarah. Get right to work. You got a lot to do.
You did say
And I mean a lot to do. All right, very good. All right, Tom. The next item, G3, upgraded recreation leader to manager position. Go ahead.
As we discussed in work session, we are trying to maneuver through COVID and the loss of inmate crews and trying to accommodate the needs that we have as we go back into providing athletics again. And we are recommending the creation of a rec leader to manage the maintenance of the parks, to take that away from the grounds crew, and to give Tracy more control over the quality and look of the parks as we provide soccer, baseball, softball, etc. during the spring, and then also football in the fall.
All right, and again, he did talk a little bit more about this, and there was some back and forth discussion in the work session earlier, if you are so inclined to go back and listen to that. Is there any questions for Tom? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to upgrade the recreation leader position to a recreation maintenance manager position effective immediately.
All right, I have a motion to upgrade the recreation leader position to a recreation maintenance manager position effective immediately.
Second.
Do I have a second? Mr. Carter, any discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous. So, Tracy, get to work. All right, where does that put us on this agenda?
City Manager's report.
Your favorite
Oh, so
part.
now we get to listen to Tom do the rain and doom and gloom.
We'll finally get a nap, okay.
You gonna say anything nice today?
Yeah, a couple. So
All right, go.
one of the so we have this thing called a winter project list, and obviously this year has been the wet winter project list. So we've worked inside more than we might have. But one of the projects that we wanted to tackle, one of the big ones, was to remove all the mulch from the V-Plex playground, take down the old wooden fence that's falling apart, put in a drainage system because that area functions like a swimming pool, and then put it all back together again and use some fairly expensive synthetic decking for the fence so that it looks good and stays looking good for a long time. So we got cranking on that Monday. Of course, we have a 7-day rain forecast, I think starting Saturday or something. So we sort of went to all hands on deck today to try to finish that by Friday. So if you want to swing by there sometime and see what that looks like in process, you probably have never seen a playground with 2 feet of mulch in it. I've never seen one, but honest to goodness, there's 2 feet of mulch out there. So that's underway, and that's going to be a really nice addition to that area. It's going to make that look really nice. But the playground itself was very attractive. It was just the fence was junky looking, and it wouldn't drain, so it was hard to use when it had been raining. Another thing that's going on is the LCI process. The grant that we have is a study grant, and what's going to come out of it is a plan, and then we'll apply for money for an implementation grant. It's an 80-20 match, And part of what we're doing now is just the beginning of figuring out, you know, who's going to do what. And you've got multiple companies on the provider side, and then Chris and Bobby and Ron and I are still figuring out who's doing what and how we work together. So there's a whole lot going on with this sort of behind the scenes that you don't see. The Highway 78 water line we mentioned earlier is about 50% done. The project that is complete is the Edge Road water line, where we put a 12-inch in. One of the things we did at the end of that project was we did hydrant tests on the ends of all the dead ends in Liberty Pool. So if you look at a map of the water system, there's no looping. So you just run down Liberty and you run down River Cliff and you stop. You run down Pool and you run down Mill Wheel and you stop. You know, so the water lines just run like fingers out into those neighborhoods and just stop. Well, that's not the best for flow and pressure, right? But I wanted to know, did the project fix the problem? Right? Y'all curious about that? I was sort of curious. So we had flow tests out there, 530 PSI, 10 pounds of pressure before the job. We're seeing over 1,000 PSI and 60 and 70 pressure out there. So we did good. We did good. I believe we can put out a fire now. Yep. So that's a good one. So Highway 78's halfway through. It's got a completely different function. Got our fingers crossed. It's sort of related to earlier today. That 8-inch line is going to give us it will provide a developer with a greater degree of comfort to come in there and buy that entire part of town and redevelop it. Because there's a really good 8-inch line connected to a 12-inch line right in front of the property, right? So you know where I'm talking about, in the middle, from Leathers going on down toward the DQ, right? That area back there, trailers, some undeveloped stuff, a couple of creeks. So fingers crossed, we have somebody come into town now, takes all those properties under, you know, one purchase and redevelops that into something commercial. Right? So that could be a biggie. That's a water sewer project, but it could be sort of an economic development project. Nick and Peavy, I believe it is, are working on the Avante building. We've identified multiple problems with the sewer over there where we had, you know, problem with it, the venting and whatever. So we're nowhere near fixing it, but we think we've got a better idea of what the issues are. The splash pad design is coming along. You won't see anything out there for a minute, but when it starts, it's going to go quick, just a couple of months, and that whole job will be done. Right now, we're working on the grounds of the area where distribution and collection are going to move to out at the old West Plant. So when we get finished with that grounds work, we'll go over and we'll do some of the site prep for the splash pad. And we talked about the pop-up concert. You may have noticed that there were people working out at Punkintown at the three-way stop. I think I mentioned this before, but that is a GDOT quick response project to do that roundabout. There's a dollar limit associated with that, and the first time they bid it, the bid came in higher than whatever their threshold is, so they had to punt and have their crew do part of the work to prep the site so that the bid would come in under whatever their dollar limit is. So those are GDOT guys or something out there doing some site prep. I've already been told by somebody that they went through there and it took 20 minutes. And we're not even getting started good. So y'all need to be prepared for a lot of complaints when that goes sort of to a permanent one direction, one lane operation with flagging. It's going to be really difficult, but when it's done, it should significantly improve. So again, we're going to have one of these projects where we all need to sit in here at the end of it and go, okay, how'd we do? You know, is the throughput significantly better when we get done? If you haven't done so, you might want to swing by Villa Rica Elementary and say goodbye to the basketball gym. Season's over. We've gone in there and taken out the equipment that we put in there. At some point, you're going to drive through there and it's going to be a parking lot. So if you have any memories or anything and want to go reminisce, you don't have much longer. When we did the paving project this fall, we got about halfway finished before the weather got too cold to put down asphalt. So we ran across two problems that we mentioned. I want to bring to your attention again because it's about to come back up. We hit two areas where the road is wet. So one is in Coach Best neighborhood and one's out on Pool Road. So we milled those, but because we had water seeping through the base of the road, we stopped and we didn't top coat them. So we're going to do full depth reclamation out there, which means we're going to dig the base out as deep as we think we need to, and we're going to rebuild the road from scratch. So that's coming up. So if you have people who come to you and say, man, why did y'all do all of, Pool Road except this one section? It's because it was wet, or same thing in Coach Best neighborhood. We didn't just arbitrarily, not do part of it. The decision to move Sarah into the deputy director position, I think, is a significant step in the process that we are going through of trying to envision what secession looks like here, and also to take advantage of some opportunities because of what's happening in neighboring communities. We have also, and you probably have not heard us talk about this much, but we've had several really significant resignations recently. So we're not only hiring some really good people, I mean some really good people that I'm excited about, but we're also seeing some people leave that we wanted to leave. And so the condition of the workforce is just getting better and better month after month as we go through that process. Soccer, I think we said, is already underway. Baseball and softball are kicking off here pretty soon. I just did put together an email for one of the people working on the LCI about our population projections. So Bobby and I worked on this, and we made a list of either unplatted residential lots in second and third phases of neighborhoods, or the unit numbers of proposed developments that we are dealing with. Apartments, townhomes, residential, whatever. 3,000 units. I think we have 6,500 in the city now built. So 3,000 is a big increase for us. I would guess, use 2.5 people per unit. That's 7,500 people. And I'm thinking our population right now is probably at 17,000. So 10-year build on all of that, 300 units a year. We could be at 25,000 folks here before too much beyond the next census, which would put us, 10 years from now. So that's pretty interesting, and that's only what we can see. So that's nothing that we don't know anything about. That's just the things that we can see. So significant growth is heading our way. Ironically, March has been really slow. And I don't know if you can tell it when you come into City Hall or not, but in 18, 19, and 20, January and February were just crazy busy. But you saw Sarah's slide tonight. Housing starts are way down. And what we're seeing is an increase in commercial. So Bobby's dealing with more multifamily and the townhomes, and then, you know, you got Walton and Arbor Valley, and then you've got this other stuff like Tanner's Assisted Living, and Southwire's got an expansion, and Serpro's talking about building a second building, and on and on. So it looks like the movement is shifting from single family detached to everything else, right? Because that's pretty much everything else. Industrial, commercial, multifamily, and townhome is sort of where the activity seems to be going. So I don't know if we lost some steam in the housing market, but what we did in the 3 years I've been here is we built all the developed lots. And I don't know if it's a pause until somebody bites off an undeveloped lot and builds it from scratch and then builds a house on it, or if it's worse than that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it could be just like a blip, and guys are, you know, doing whatever they're doing out there, building in cheaper places until they come back here, or if this is really serious and long. I mean, I can't tell. So isn't that interesting that we got 3,000 units potentially on the one hand that we can sort of see, but currently I'm not really feeling it. And you can see it if you watch Kirsten and Whitney and Nairi and Bobby and what they're dealing with now. It's just, there's a different tone to City Hall now during the day. It's not nearly as crazy as it was the last 2 or 3 January and February work periods. Remember last year we hit COVID in March, so we sent everybody home on the 25th. I don't know what 20 would have been like without COVID, but I'm thinking we would have done at least 300 houses. Maybe more. We did 275 even with COVID, and we took pretty much March and April off. Not us, but the building community pretty much, you know, that first couple of months. So it's really hard for me to say to you, here's what I think is going to happen. And I know a year ago, we were all saying, hey, we need a crystal ball because we got no idea what's going to happen. But even now, a year later, I still can't sit here and say, you know, we're going to build 200 this year, or we're going to build 300, or we're going to build 100. I really don't know. So if y'all are reading or talking to people that you feel like really got insight into this, I sure wish you'd put that on me, because I'd like to know what people are saying that have some better perspective on that.
Isn't some of it what you told us? I mean, I have at least a couple neighborhoods in my ward that are built out, and they got built out during that time. They're done. I don't know about Reed Plantation. I don't know what's left in
It's
there.
done.
Is there anything left in there? That's
It's
1,
done.
2. I have about 3 that are built out now.
Yeah, so Summergate, Charleston Place, and Twin Oaks have phases that are not finished. You know, they're just land without platting, so a lot of work and expensive, you know, to develop. But a ton of Mirror Lake, Northwoods, Fairway 16 and 17, Water Mist, South Harbor, Track 4 and 5 on Connors. And there's a lot in Mirror Lake. But once those build, Mirror Lake is done, right? I mean, we can see the end of Mirror Lake development from where we're sitting.
What's the comparison between single-family unattached cost per square foot to build and townhomes, attached homes cost per square foot to build? What we're seeing, is it significantly cheaper to build?
Well, the townhomes are going to try to get, 4 units an acre or better, depending on what we'll let them do. And then the house, the single family detached, depends on what neighborhood it's in, but you're not going to have a lot of 30,000 square foot lots, single family detached. They're going to try to do 10 or 8 or even smaller if we let them, One thing that I feel like is a is a consideration for us, and I don't know what to do about this, is you think about what Chris brought us today about this residential design guidelines thing. We're trying to play two negotiations at the same time. We're trying to get better builders to come in. And when they come in, we want them to build their C product and not their bottom product. You know, if they've got an A and a B and a C, we don't want more A. You know, we'd rather get a better product of their product line, or we'd rather get a better builder, right? And so what we're doing, I think, with what Chris is producing is maybe something that will help us, regardless of who we get and what they want to build. If they come to us for a variance, and us is y'all, right? Because this doesn't go to P&Z, variances go to y'all only. Is maybe that you need to take a different stance about approving a variance as a trade-off instead of just a yes or no. And that any variance that y'all look at in the future, you go back to that design guidelines and you say, okay, you know, we can live with this variance that you want, but here's what we want in return. And we're either moving them up to a better product, or we're making the product better or something, right? Because out of the houses that we've built since I've been here, the vast majority have been starter homes. And if that's all we can support, then okay, I get that, but that's not what y'all want, I don't think, from talking with you. Y'all are not going to be content if we just build a zillion more starter homes on 8,000 square foot lots, you know. So anyway, last of all, you got an email, I think, back in February that we have another graduate of a professional program. Elisa has completed a Carl Vinson clerk program that was described to me in the email as a master's program. Well, I don't know anybody that's got a master's in clerking. But you're familiar with Carl Vinson. That's an organization that provides governments with support for all kind of things, and they teach all kind of classes and programs. So how long did it take you?
It's normally three and a half years, but because of COVID, it took me 4 years. It was 9 classes.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we have a graduate in a master's clerk program from Carl Vinson in our midst, and I bet you don't know another one. So that's it for me.
All right. Y'all did questions all through it, but anybody have any at the end? All right. Seeing no questions. So I placed this executive session on this agenda because I thought that I had something that was due this month, but it's actually it's going to be next month. So I don't need this. So how do you want to deal with it? Just skip it?
I think you just skipped it.
All right. You have anything to add?
I do not.
Tom's talked enough. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Councilwoman McPherson.